to Kyle's point, like it's awesome to see that, and it's wins like that help keep you going. Welcome back to another episode of the Iron Pulse podcast. Today, Kyle and I are going to be discussing, managing your stress as a business owner. We're going to be discussing stressful situations, managing your stress as a business owner, why having a startup is stressful. And I don't really think that there needs to be an introduction to that because any business that you own is going to be stressful.
Yep.
And there's many factors that play into that. So, Kyle, would you like to kick it off with what you have?
Yeah, I think, along with there being a lot of stresses, maybe the thing that we can kind of focus on with this one is like, how do you deal with the stress? Like, because everyone's going to have, a different stress lever. Like, one person's stress lever might be maybe they don't have enough employees for their current company and they need to hire more, but they're having trouble hiring. Someone else's might be, financially, maybe the company's financially unstable and they're trying to get everything back under their feet. So like, how do you kind of deal with those mental stressors that come along with starting any type of side hustle or side business?
Yeah, first and foremost, it's understanding why you're doing it in the first place.
Yep.
I think the
why factor.
When there's stress, the stress comes back to, well, why did I want to do this in the first place? Because this business, what we do, like Iron Pulse, it gets stressful at times for sure, 100%, especially with manufacturers. And I always think about like, okay, but I want like financial freedom in the future, and hopefully we can get there, and we're working to get there. And so, I always think about like where we can get to down the road. And yesterday, Kyle and I were talking a little bit about where we were a year ago compared to where we are today. We've definitely made a lot of progress.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, I think that, one important thing too that, and we were kind of talking about this too yesterday, Cam, like a lot of times we want things to move fast, but they might not be moving as fast as we might anticipate. And, it's always good to have that mindset of that, that good quote that Elon had, take your 10-year plan and try to fit it into 5 months. You're not going to come anywhere close to completing the 10-year plan, but you'll be much further along in those 5 months than you would be if you were planning to complete it in 10 years. And, even though we have like all these ideas and like all these things that we want to try to accomplish, it's important to, sometimes just take a step back and look, just at the progress that we've made in the last year. Sure, it's not exponential, but it's definitely, all steps in the right direction. And, not saying that we should, or anybody for that matter, get complacent with, just the progress that you made up until that point, but just as kind of like a little mental stress relaxation technique is just, take a look back at where you were at this point last year and kind of, just check off the things that you've completed and what you anticipate on completing in the future, just to kind of level set yourself a little bit. Like, this is the progress that we've made so far, right, which is all good progress. And, moving forward, these are the things that now need to happen in order for that continuation of progression to keep going.
I think the biggest thing that people get caught up in is the fact that there's so much work that has to happen behind the scenes that the people that see, like the UI, they see the website or whatever's out front, they don't even see they see a fraction of what you put in behind the scenes to make that one post or those 2 posts or 3 posts a day, whatever the case is. And for all the work that you do, it doesn't necessarily translate into a monetary value, right? So for all the work that Kyle and I have done over the last year and a half, well, almost 2 years, I guess, coming up in the spring, not all of it transitions into a monetary value, right? It doesn't just automatically mean that every time that we work on something, it's going to translate to cash. It's going to translate to money for the brand. It's going to translate to, the company growing. While we always try to make a step in the right direction, like we focus a lot on photo shoots, we focus a lot on networking, connections, building relationships with people. Here, at that point in time, it's not translating into money. And so when you go to start a business, because I think a lot of the people, almost everybody that listens to our podcast, they don't start with investors. They don't start with venture capitalists. They probably 9 times out of 10 are bootstrapping. So this means that you're pulling funds from your own account to fund whatever it is that you're working on or whatever it is that you're building. So that said, it gets frustrating and it gets stressful when you put all this time, money, and effort into something to build it, to put it together, to showcase it, to get it ready, and then you put it out there and it's like crickets, right? Like you might not get the attention that you feel that you're worth. And it's hard with marketing, right? Marketing is not easy. None of it's easy. But I think that people get frustrated and they get super stressed when they spend this money for the startup costs before they even get a product out there. And they're like, okay, like I'm bagging on this product. Like I need this product to do well. And they put it out there and it doesn't even make back 1/10 of what they already put into it. So then when it's out there, then you get more stressful, right? Because money it just leads to stress and frustration, right? Like, yes, it can, buy a lot of things. It can potentially make you happy, whatever the case is. But for more people than not, it just drives stress, and it drives people wondering like how they're going to continue to fund what they want to do. And but that's a big thing. Like Kyle and I have just discovered as we've continued to do this is like every time we do something, while it may not lead to money per se, like right now, it doesn't mean that in the future what we're building now can eventually like come back around, like the networks, the relationships, and just every time that we make a post, it might pull in somebody on social media, and that one post that we did 2 months ago that somebody just somehow finds, it could potentially lead to a sale, right? So before we even did one podcast, we had a backlog of, I don't even know, Kyle, do you remember? It had to have been like at least like 10, 8 or 10 at least.
Episodes for podcasts? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think we had like...
Before we put out the first one. Yeah, so we had built that backlog, and we had done it with social media as well. We did that because, we wanted to be able to consistently create posts, consistently drop podcasts. Well, we drop our podcast once a week, but we wanted to consistently have that in case we something came up and we ended up missing a day. But we had always had a post ready. We always had a podcast ready. So, while at the time that we were filming these podcasts, or at the time that we were taking these photos and doing these shoots, like nobody really knew that what we were planning to release, obviously. So it was creating zero value for Kyle and I up front. But now we're 2 launches in. We're still doing podcasts once a week on Wednesdays. We're still doing photo shoots. We've done, I don't even know, dude. We've probably done like 10 photo shoots this year. I'm actually curious how many
we've done a lot. And actually, not to derail you from the podcast talk, but just kind of referencing we do a ton of things that don't necessarily give us instant monetary value back.
Right.
Like with the photo shoots, dude. If we look at images that we took even earlier this year, not even last year, but earlier this year too. I mean, it's like night and day from like just the things that we're learning, like different angles that we're learning, like how to use the cameras better, how to position products better, like all these things that we're learning.
You have to learn.
Like, who knows, 5 years from now, we might not even have a clothing company, but all that knowledge that we're doing with photo shoots and everything like that, whatever our next venture is, I'm just speaking hypothetically, obviously like that's gonna play a huge role in it. Like we're gonna have all that experience from doing shoots with the clothing brand and like how to edit and position products and things like that. Like it's all, even though it doesn't give you instant gratification, it's all like part of the learning process that comes with owning a startup and owning your own product. And how do you market that? How do you set up images for it? How do you conduct a photo shoot? All those kind of things.
Right. Yeah. I mean, whether or not the company's here in 5 or 6 years, like that's all dependent on the people listening right now. That's all dependent on the people that continue to support the brand, continue to, want to become entrepreneurs, to continue to believe in the Vision Wear concept and drive Iron Pulse to, to continue to be around. Right. So like, I mean, Kyle and I are going to do this until we literally have like, if it ever got to the point of like $0, we literally just couldn't fund it. but we want to continue to grow with that. And yeah, there's going to be times like what Kyle was just mentioning, what I was mentioning is like you put all this work in and you spend a lot of money for zero, for literally zero. And then you're hoping that you can make it back. But it comes back at a slower rate, slower pace than you would like, that anybody would like. Trust me, like nobody ever complained that they were making money too fast, right? So, in times like these, like I'm telling you right now, like if you think that you're like, it would never mess with you if you think that like you have all the patience in the world, I'm telling you right now, like it would frustrate you. Like if you started a business and you weren't bringing in money as fast as you thought that you should be, I'm telling you right now, like I don't care who you are, I don't care how level-headed you are, I don't care how high your patience tolerance is, like it will begin to frustrate you. And it's because like it just continues to hammer down on you. And it's a constant reminder of like you feeling, it starts to weigh on you mentally because it's a constant reminder of like you feel as if you're not doing enough. Meanwhile, you got like 12 hands going at once. You're answering emails on like 4 different screens. You're adjusting the website. You're running around in the house and outside of the house, driving everywhere. Like I'm telling you right now, like it'll start to weigh on you, and it gets frustrating. It gets stressful. But to Kyle's point, is like while it may be like that right now, it's helping build a solid foundation to where the future can get to. Right, to where you're building the future out to. Like you have your vision, right? And with this vision, you have a goal of what you want to accomplish and what you want to build. Well, all the pieces that you're laying down right now to build that solid foundation, it's not a quick buck, right? Like you're letting it settle and you're just building floor after floor after floor after floor to get to the top of where your vision originally was. Definitely, you don't want to build on a cracked foundation, because if you build on a cracked foundation and you try to take the easy road, you try to make cuts and screw people over in the beginning because it saved you 10, 20, maybe $100, and you are just leading yourself up for failure, in my opinion, because you're building when you get to that point, you start to build on a cracked foundation, and that cracked foundation will eventually come crumbling down. So
yeah,
I mean, it gets stressful too.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. And going back to the money thing too, like it's no surprise that like money is a success indicator for any company. Any company, in order to be successful, you have to have money coming in and money going out, and that allows the company to continue to grow itself, right? And so while it is frustrating sometimes when you don't have that I guess expectation that you were thinking you would get, it is important to kind of like what we referenced in a previous episode, just kind of remembering the why, right? Like the reason why you're doing what you're doing when you started the company wasn't necessarily because you wanted to make a lot of money. It was because you had a passion or a dream to help inspire people to kind of follow their passions, which is, one of the main reasons that we started Iron Pulse. And our hope is that the money will come later on. But I mean, just going off of kind of what we've been talking about in the sense of, we do things day to day that don't necessarily drive any type of profit right back into our pockets, like the podcast. Like, one of our good friends, Jordan, shared a screenshot that, our podcast was his most listened to podcast this year. And like that, like put the biggest smile on my face all week, just because, we're making these podcasts and putting them out each week, and we don't really care if it's, one person or 2,000, but like the fact that Jordan finds a lot of value in listening to these, and he, continues to take things away, and it helps him, make decisions, and he knows that he's not the only one going through any of the stresses that he might be going through. That's something that means a lot to both myself and Cam. Like we have someone else who, really enjoys the content that we're putting out. And although, it's not making us any money, it's, that's one of the reasons that we started the podcast, was so that we could connect and, relate to people that are going through very similar things.
Right, yeah. Jordan wasn't the only one, too. I think we had at least one or two people that we know of that we were also their top podcast for the year. So it's things, it's little things like that, to what Kyle was saying. It's like, man, we put these out consistently. and we're trying to help everybody. Like, we've gone through the startup phase of literally how to build a brand from nothing in our Forging the Brand episodes. And we talk about the issues that we've had, the successes that we've had, and what we were currently doing back then, what we plan to do in the future, which is basically where we're at right now and where we're continuing to build. And to Kyle's point, like, it's awesome to see that. And it's like, it's wins like that that help keep you going, right? It helps, it just gives you that, that extra energy to keep putting out episodes. So,
yeah.
Kyle and I are going to continue to put out episodes. I mean, we have a lot to share, I feel. We talk to our suppliers and manufacturers, like, basically on a daily basis. Like, there's always going to be something in business that comes up, something that we can share the knowledge of, like, what we've acquired from doing it either correctly or doing it wrong, and then learning from it and providing a plan forward. So there's always going to be something for us to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
We just hope that we can provide enough value for people that they can take away, like, a lot of information, run with it, and save headaches, save errors, save mistakes in the future whenever they go to build out their company, no matter what it is.
Yep.
Sweet, dude. I think that we can wrap that up right there. Do you have anything else that you would like to mention about stress?
I think that everyone's going to have, just to wrap it up on my end, everyone's going to have their own types of stressors, whether that's something with, employees or anything that deals with financials. And the main thing to remember is just, why you started in the first place, and, just having that grounding as to, the main purpose behind what you're doing. And that'll 9 times out of 10 outweigh any type of stress that you've currently got going on. And, just always continue to focus forward. And if you ever think that things aren't moving as fast as they should be, just take a look at, either a month or a year from where you were now in the past, and look at how far you've come.
For sure. If you liked and found value in our show, please feel free to share it with your friends and family. As always, thank you for taking the time to listen. You can be sure to follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Pinterest at Official Iron Pulse. Don't worry, if you prefer email, we have got you covered. You can subscribe to the Iron Pulse Report by visiting shopironpulse.com. And remember, no matter what you do, be all in.